I'm still breathing, I'm still up in the system that's so corrupt. That's how it is in America. That's how it is in America. I'm still breathing, I'm still up in the system that's so corrupt. That's how it is in America. That's how it is in America. I speak the language of the revolutionaries. Knock them like by any means necessary. I'm black and proud, I got the spirit of a singer. I'm Nat Turner poking out his middle finger. See, in my former life, I was Bobby Seale. Strapped up, fingers dripping on the steel. I send them chills through your spine when I rhyme. I was sent to heal the deaf, dumb, and blind. Now you can see the signs on the back of the dollar. The eye of broad shining bright, so come and follow. I'm a scholar in the temple of a set. Holly green lotus tatted on my chest. I conquer death with the staff of Anubis. Bumble clock busts a shot to kill Judas. You see the system, man, ain't meant for us to rise. And yeah, the history is just a bunch of lies. I'm still breathing, I'm still up in the system, it's so corrupt. That's how it is in America. That's how it is in America. I'm still breathing, I'm still up in the system, that's so corrupt. That's how it is in America. That's how it is in America. Flashing like a mug in my kente. I got mud cloth draped around my gym bed. And yeah, we play it till our hands full of calluses. I came to prove it wrong when they say we're powerless. Let me teach the black youth where their power is. Let's transform the projects into palaces. The black Madonna on the mantle came first. The black Christ is on the lap, the black birth. I spit the real facts, you ain't gotta search. I got the quench full of truth for your thirst. Let's pick the White House, red, black, and green. Don't be a nigga black man, be a king. Don't be a ever black woman, be a queen. I am the prophecy of Dr. King's dream. Hey, young man, you ain't gotta sip the lean. They trying to turn the ghetto kids into fiends. I'm still breathing, I'm still up in the system that's so corrupt. That's how it is in America. That's how it is in America. I'm still breathing, I'm still up in the system that's so corrupt. That's how it is in America. That's how it is in America.
I see some of y'all okay with it. Wait your chance to dance in the crack of rain and bathe in it. Wash your hand 10,000 times, still got blood on it. Sharks can smell it way from the 9 to 5 to drug cone. Hearts invested, look for a kickback that they showing up. See the jits them pouring up. Quick tell them they paying sag but can't change when they growing up. Get mad when they peep gang, call them insane when they blowing up. Lil' mama just old shooting, he old doing Sean going up. And y'all haters supposed to bear witness. They ain't studying your forgiveness. Best to balance they wishes for your name and up on their hit list. They hit the sign, they can't turn it down to air town, front to the ground. Don't steal around, restore the crown. That's the way the thing going down. You full aggression.
Good evening, family. Welcome to another edition of Thorough Black Talk with your sister Keisha, your brother Tad, and your brother Ashe SJ will be joining us shortly. Glad to be black again on another Thursday with each and every one of you. Appreciate you all tuning in with us and rocking out every week. How we do it on the Brooklyn Bridge. Thought I'd come in with some heat this evening. Missed y'all last week, so I had to come in with the heat. Some Richard Raw. You need to download that joint. If you don't have it, it's Throwback Thursday, so, and featuring the good brother Tahir RBG, this single right here is fire. So, you can download it on YouTube or whatever you get your music from and check it out. Richard Raw, here we go. We got a lot to discuss, family. Let me see. Make sure everything is right. Getting everything. Brother Tad and Ashe will be joining us along with our weekly correspondents. Brother Blacksmith and Sister Marcia will also be joining us in a few minutes, family. So how have you all been? I hope everybody has been doing well. I myself, doing okay. Clearing out the lungs. I hit my lip on a shelf, trying to, rearrange the shelves. Hit my mouth. bust my mouth up over here, so don't y'all be laughing at me, It's all right. I'll be all right. I'll be all right. You know what I'm saying? That's how I do. I'm be all right. So, we glad to be black. A lot of things have been happening in the news. Some things have resurfaced. Starting with the murder of our brother in Mississippi, Rasheem Carter. And we first reported this back, last year, I think in October or November, when we first got wind of the story. But now it has resurfaced because the family, or the representation of the family, that is asking for a federal investigation, because even though the coroner has determined the death to be a murder, um, the police in Mississippi, in that town, say that there is no foul play. There is no foul play. And this just goes to show the long standing history that we have had to deal with Mississippi. Nobody wants to deal with Mississippi. No one ever has wanted to deal with Mississippi. Um, Mississippi still holds the same vein from its inception into the Union. Mississippi is the same state that Fannie Lou Hammer warned us about. Mississippi is the same state that May Louise Miller was, and her family held in captivity in sharecropping, on a sharecropping plantation until the 1980s. The same Mississippi, um, who still to this day, where we at? March 16, 2023, still to this day, you still have families still tied to these plantation contracts, these sharecropping plantation contracts, which are extremely brutal. You had Dr. Antoinette Harrell come on and tell you all about what the people in Mississippi are dealing with. Mississippi has an issue with water. Mississippi's largest city, which is Jackson, Mississippi, Mayor Chokwe Lumumba, is having problems as far as getting the state legislature to support Mississippi in their endeavors. They are trying to rebuild, or what you would call, a Black Wall Street in Mississippi, and people are trying to get into the way of that. Mississippi had an issue with its water recently. So there are a lot of things that are happening now. This murder with our brother, Rasheem Carter, um, remind me of Emmett Till, remind me of James Beard in Texas. Um, it has been reported, rather, that his body parts were scattered all around different counties. He had told his mother that if anything happened to him, that these white guys was trying to kill him. Young, handsome brother, just living life, trying to work, trying to develop his own business, and is murdered. We as black people in this country, as Africans in America, continue to deal with the same problems that our grandparents and great grandparents have dealt with. Meanwhile, other ethnic groups and nationalities have all type of legal protections that will help them in their sojourn in this country, and we still begging, pleading, voting, and we get nothing. Nothing. How is it that the coroner could say, well, his death was a homicide, but police don't want to investigate? They saying they don't see any foul play, even though he made a audio confession. I mean, a plea to his mother, telling her, and But again, when it comes to us, it's always a sad story. So what they have already done, of which I have seen, and I'm sure that all of you have, they have already attain the services of the broker, the financial broker of black misery, which is right now Benjamin Crump or Attorney Crump, because that's what it is. They get these attorneys, and these attorneys are nothing more than financial brokers because there is no justice. If we are still complaining about the same things that Mamie Till complained about, now you have another um, mother in Mississippi complaining of the same thing. It's not, that means it's not working. And I don't know what it's going to take for us to understand um, what we are dealing with here in this country. But we'll get into a little bit more about this once my brother Tad and Ashe get in here, because I know they want to tap on this. So now we're going to continue with our history of black women. I want to give a shout out to the BK William Mackey History Club. I will be presenting next week on black women who were significant in the 19th century. You had a lot of black women who were investigators, who were writers, who were owners of their own newspapers. You had those who um, fought in the legal system for us, and we're going to talk about all of that at the BK William Mackey History Club. And you can either come live or you can watch it on Zoom. That Zoom link will be provided for you the day of the event next week, Wednesday, on the Thorough Black Talk Facebook page. And then, you guys can see it then. Tonight, we also going to take a look back at some of our greatest scholars, as we have been doing in recent weeks, pulling up various videos and publications of our great scholars and analyzing them for ourselves. So, you never know what we're going to find on that. So, we're going to get right into it, family. Let's deal with the history of black women. Let's continue our discussion from 2 weeks ago, 2 weeks prior. Sorry about that. I want to talk about Queen Mother Moore. Um, as we continue to converse about reparations and who owes, I really wish you all would tune in next week, Wednesday, to BK William Mackey History Club, because I'm going to connect all the dots. Who were the originators of this movement? Also, I know you all have heard the term white privilege, but do you know where that term originated from? Um, I'll give you a hint. It was a black woman. But do you know which black woman? Right? So if you can get the right answer in the chat tonight, I got a t-shirt for you. I'm going to give you a t-shirt. Courtesy of Dr. Easily Danto, attorney at War Easily Danto, who provided us a bunch of shirts to, give away to all of you guys. So if you can tell me tonight in the chat who coined the phrase white privilege, you get a free t-shirt. All right. So before we get into Queen Mother Moore, let me give some quick shout outs to everybody. What's up, Donna? How you doing? Hope everything is well with you and yours. Sister Joyce, brother Monty on the check-in. Sister Joyce, I got a video clip with you guys in it. I'm going to play later, so you might want to tune in for that one. Aunt Marie on the check-in. What's good with you, Aunt Marie? Uncle Jess, what's happening? What's happening? Sister Marie, hope everything is well with you and be more. As a matter of fact, speaking of be more, one of the persons that I'm going to be discussing next week, Wednesday, at BK William Mackey History Club is out of Baltimore. So if you're available and you can tune in Wednesday night, please do so. I think you're going to enjoy it. Sister Farnessa on the check-in. What's good with you, sis? Hope everything is well with you and your family. Not quite. Not quite. It's before Fannie Lou Hammer. Let me just put it that way. It's before Fannie Lou Hammer. It's before Harriet Tubman. Okay? Tell me, get a free t-shirt if you can tell me who coined the phrase white privilege. I gave you a hint. It is a black woman. Two, before Harriet Tubman. Okay? Before Harriet Tubman. Um, she coined the phrase white privilege. And she had a magnificent way of writing. This elder, this queen mother, most of her writing was on death, right? Let me see. Let me try to say this without giving it away. Big ups to Baltimore. How about if I put it that way? Big ups to Baltimore. But she had a very unique way of writing, and yeah, Sister Pat Patterson, you got it. You get the free T-shirt. You got the free T-shirt, Sister Pat Patterson. I got you. So next week, if you're there, or inbox me and let me know if you're going to be there next week, Wednesday. I will bring it to you or have it mailed to you. So, Sister Pat Patterson, let's give her a round of applause. She got it right. Phyllis Wheatley coined the phrase white privilege in the 1700s, family. Stop playing. You know, the first play that I ever performed in was me playing Phyllis Wheatley. Phyllis Wheatley. So when it comes to her writings, you know, I pretty much know everything of what she's done. I've been reading her work since I was in elementary school. Okay, and she had a very powerful presence at that time, even though she was enslaved, had a serious, powerful presence. So much so that, you know, excuse me, dignitaries around the world wanted to see her. But she eventually died penniless, right? And all of her works are republished now. And who's making money off of that? Because it ain't her legacy. She died penniless. As well did Rosa Parks. Did y'all know Rosa Parks was a janitor and worked as a maid in the hotel? We don't take care of our own. We got to do better. But Sister Pat, congratulations to you. You are the winner of the free T-shirts, and I'll make sure you get that. Um, she said I was about to say that. Sister Pat beat you to it, boy. Brooklyn girls, we don't play that. We move quick with it. We move quick with it. No worries, sis. No worries. So yes, yeah. So Phyllis Wheatley, is that. So we're gonna continue with Queen Mother Moore. Queen Mother Moore. Um, I got pictures of her with Kwame Nkrumah, and that's why I like going to the libraries, man. I could get lost in the libraries, man. I will put my phone on silent and go in those libraries and have me a good old time. You know, I could be there till they close. But all the things that you find is just fascinating. But anyway, Queen Mother Moore was definitely an advocate for reparations. She walked the streets. She talked to people coming in and out of subways, the highways and the byways about what they are owed. So let me play this clip real quick, and then we'll come right back and discuss it. Hold on, family. Here we go. Those who seek temporary security rather than basic liberty deserve need. Brothers have to understand that. But those who seek temporary security rather than basic liberty deserve need. I'm demanding reparations. That's all I can see now. That's the answer for our people. And this document tells you why. It tells you reparations. This is how you've been injured. This is how you've been destroyed. You was changed from an African into a Negro. That you've been damaged. Injured. You took your name, took your color. I don't have my pretty black
Jones, or Johnson, or Williams, huh? And you know darn well that you have no business with English names. You don't think that's an injury. That's where your consciousness that you do your
And now you got people out here talking about, well, we need a study. We need a commission. We already had all of that. That's just banter. That's just frivolous nonsense to tell us, that we need to have a commission to study reparations. Are you crazy? Are you crazy? Look how long ago. And before her, I can go 100 years before her to Callie House. 100 years before her. Okay? But things are moving. Sister Pat said, cut the check. She said, cut the damn check. I know that's right. Cut the check. Where our bread at? Everybody getting our bread. Ukrainians, midgets, walruses, ducks. Everybody getting our bread. But we ain't getting nothing. And we holding up the duopoly. That's bugged out. That's bugged out. So never let nobody tell you that this is a new fight. We've always been fighting for what was rightfully ours. In fact, let me show you. Let me pull this out. Okay, I'm gonna pull that out. What's up, brother Tad on the check-in? What's good with you? Glad to see you black again. Brother Tad trying to work out some kinks in the background. We'll get it cracking. But I want you to know why it's important. See, you gotta have legal precedent, right? When you dealing with some folks, right? We gotta understand the legal precedent of what we're dealing with. Now, let me see. Did I just cut it off? I think I might have cut it off. Why would I do that? Let's see. Minimize. Let's see. Work with me, family. Work with me. I don't know what I did here, but I'll figure it out. Anyway, you have people who have already fought in the courts, mind you. They already fought in the court system. All right? For what was rightfully ours. Before the 1800s. Back when, I don't know, let's go to when the British was ruling things. We had people who were fighting in the courts for what was rightfully ours, right? One of them fought for her own freedom. Not only did she fight for her own freedom, but she gained it, and she talked about reparations. Okay? You got to find and read the story of Elizabeth Freeman, or Mumbet, right? I like to call her Elizabeth Freeman. She went by other names, but most notably Mumbet, all right? She, in 1742, born into slavery in 1742, she was given to the Ashley family of Sheffield, Massachusetts in her early teens. During her period of enslavement to them, she married and had a child, Betsy. In 1780, Miss Ashley struck Betsy. This was the slave mistress, okay? Got to read that book, They Were Once Her Property. When I'm talking about the brutality of white women against black women, read that book, okay? All right, let's continue. Here is a woman who fought for her freedom using the doctrine that did not even apply to us at that time. But nobody talks about Elizabeth Freeman. Nobody mentions this great warrior mother. Did it in the courts when it wasn't even heard of. Okay? Sister Tony said, yeah, I have to get that book. You must. Great book. They Were Once Her Property. The brutality of white women. You think white men was bad? Girl, bye. Let me tell you something. White women? Please read. As a matter of fact, we're going to listen to a slave narrative later on. You can hear elder who was enslaved talk about how wicked this white woman was. So I don't listen. You don't got to make this up, but let's give shout outs and kudos and honors to Elizabeth Freeman, who fought for her own and got it in the 1700s. In the 1700s, no legal degree, none of that. And I always say, as long as you can read and comprehend, you all right. As long as you can read and comprehend, that's all you need. You be fine. You be good and fine. So try to, if you can, find out some information about Mumbet. Now, um, yes, get the book, sis. Get the book, Sister Farnessa. They were once her property. I'm telling you. Brutal. Brutal. As a matter of fact, I'm going to show you something free that you can read right now. Go to archive.com, right? Excuse me, archive.org. And put in there female slave owners and read some of their memoirs, some of the things that they wrote about themselves. And if you think I'm lying, they wrote about it their damn self. Yes, Dr. Claude Anderson's been fighting a long time too for reparations, right? So we have been fighting for centuries, And I was watching a YouTube video, and you had a Asian woman who was talking about how disrespectful Asians are to African Americans, right? And she said one of the things that Asian Americans like to say is that they built the railroads here, right? Well, they may have worked some of the railroads, but they didn't build a damn thing. Okay. Now they worked the Oriental rail lines. It's called the Oriental Rail. Well, that's what it was called back then. Read up on it. But before then, you had what you call the Gaddy dances. Anybody know what Gaddy dances are? You know what a Gaddy dances are? Put it in the chat. You might get a t-shirt too. I don't know. We'll see. You're welcome, sis. You're welcome. But the Gaddy dances, I'll tell you what they were. They were men who worked on the railroads. So you ever watch remember the movie Life with Eddie Murphy and I think Martin Lawrence and what's his name? Who passed away? Oh man. Anyway, when they were on the working the railroads, and you ever any film, go to any YouTube and watch black men working on the railroad, and you will hear them go, hey, and right? So that chant and that movement was a way of them working the railroads because those things were so heavy, they had to move with rhythm and with tandem, So that was 100 years before this other group claimed that they built the railroads. I'm not making these things up. It's history. It's history. And so right now you have a lot of people who are distorting history. A lot of people who don't want to deal with history. A lot of people who want to erase history. Right? Sister Farnessa said the black men sang that on the railroad. Yes, because they had to move with a particular rhythm. Those other folks wasn't here then. Even when you look at Europeans who claim, they built this country. The earliest they could go back, most of them, is the 19th century. Most of them. I'm talking about the Irish, the Italians, the Polish. The first group that was here was the Dutch. So I don't know where these other people come from. And that's why I study history. History should always be your guide in everything that you do. Whether it's an argument, whether it's a debate, whether it's figuring out if you should go left or right? History should always be in the forefront of what you're doing. So I wanted to continue with something that I found, and I think you guys might find this quite interesting. Let's see if I can gather it again. Um, I like cowgirls and cowboys. I like that kind of stuff. So when I was telling people, I want to go take a trip to Wyoming, that's like right up my alley. I like that kind of stuff. Always have, always have. Matter of fact, my uncle used to always wear cowboy hats. One of my uncles will always wear cowboy hats, right? So I always like that. So I'm always, trying to stay abreast of things that are happening in that arena. Um, there is a young lady who I have been following for quite some time. Um, her and her mother, as a matter of fact, are breakout stars. But the young lady that I'm talking about is Courtney Solomon and her mother Kanisha. Um, and when you look at sports, when you talk about sports, most people think, baseball, basketball, football, or soccer, or hockey, and swimming, and things of that nature. There are two sports that Black people are excelling in, but no one talks about. The money isn't as great as other sports, like boxing and things of that nature. It just isn't. One is professional sharpshooters, and the other is cowboys and cowgirls. And so this story right here, I think I might have showed y'all this story before, but just in case, I want to give honor to the Black cowgirls, and nobody's giving them no love, but we will on Thorough Black Talk. Hold on, family. Check this out.
I worked to rodeo.
Burro race, steer and decorate, roping, bulldogging, she can do it all. I mean, she's just a good cowgirl.
Kanisha Jackson. She's a champion here at the Bill Pickett Invitational Rodeo, and she's about to go pro.
My ultimate goal is to be the first African-American female to make the National Finals Rodeo.
Kanisha Jackson, her daughter Courtney, and her mother Stephanie are a rodeo dynasty, 3 generations of competitive cowgirls.
Made it to Hempstead, Texas. This is just an hour outside of Houston. I'm here at Kanisha and Courtney's house.
Home is being in Hempstead, Texas. On Monday through Friday, I sleep in my own bed. Friday through Sunday, I'm in the horse trailer, sleeping in my horse trailer. Tomorrow, I'm preparing to leave for Friday. I'm packing the trailer, I'll make sure all my horse stuff is in there, the horse feed, horse hay, everything. So going to like 2 and 3 rodeos a weekend from March till October. Some rodeos, maybe my mom or my daughter go with me.
Okay, so tell me about living in Texas. What's it like?
It's really great because you have horses, cows, and everything.
What is practice like? What do you guys do? Do you ride around the house or on the yard?
That's an arena. That's
your arena?
I've been riding since I was 3 or 2.
So I didn't really feel pregnant till I was like 7 months. I was riding most of the time, so I was like real normal, I guess you would say.
Courtney acts just like my mom. She's a spitting image of my mama.
Well, when you rodeo for a living, you have to be able to afford to do that full time. I've seen a lot of people go pro, and when you married and have kids, I think the obligation is a little different.
Did you want this for her?
I mean, of course, there's always a goal. Man, I wish she could be there. She could make history, but if she didn't, oh well, she made history already.
They don't really give you a warning, do they?
We're at the Bill Pickett Invitational Rodeo. It was founded in 1984 by Lou Vason when he recognized the need to honor the history of Black cowboys and cowgirls.
Why is this place so important?
This rodeo is based off of just African American soldiers. So it's basically letting everybody know that there are Black cowboys and cowgirls out there. You would be surprised how many people don't know that there are Black cowboys and cowgirls.
Yeah.
Bill Pickett was the Black cowboy who invented steer wrestling, and people didn't know who he was. Lou had studied up on that, and he contacted the Bill Pickett family and actually obtained the legal rights to name the rodeo Bill Pickett Invitational Rodeo.
Sam, talk less. I'm trying to do it. Talk less.
He just threw his microphone away.
You know, I kind of describe the Bill Pickett Invitational Rodeo as the feeder ground. We have the cowboys and cowgirls that hone their skills here.
Now I'm dressed I'm Buffalo soldiering right now.
You look
amazing. One was a woman, Kathy Williams, but she enlisted as William Kathy, and when she got hurt, they found out she was a woman and they kicked her out.
Wow.
So we tell that piece of history.
Was Bill Pickett got me to the stage, the platform that I'm on in rodeo. If it wasn't for them, I don't think I would have took rodeo into the level that I'm trying to take it as an African American female.
It is 7 a.m. and Kanisha and Stephanie are just practicing right now. They only have about an hour to warm up their horses.
With me getting a little older, I'm still competitive, but it's almost like I'm at the point of watching the roles turn. I never thought that all three of us would be competing at this particular level. Courtney being 8, Kanisha being 29, and then me.
I'm the only one in my family that's taking it to a professional level.
How important has that been for your family, for your mom and your daughter to see you work towards that goal?
It made my mom, I guess, see me in a different light, because I don't think she knew how serious I took it.
Yeah.
And, you know, we're well known and stuff like that. So
when you say we're well known, like, what does that mean?
As far as like our championships and us winning and stuff like that.
Okay, you guys ready? It's cold out here. It's rainy.
We're gonna get your horse.
Watch little Courtney, boy. She plays no games with it.
This is Cooper. This is Courtney. This is Nikki. This is Chig.
Oh my God, it's so loud.
Ain't she bad? Ain't she bad?
So where did you place today?
I placed second place.
That's cool. Doesn't faze you?
It does, but I'm so used to it.
When they
The sister is bad. Let me tell you, you see the energy she give to her young peers? I've been watching that video of Courtney is actually a couple of years old. I've been following her for quite some time. Her mother, her aunt. I've been following them. This video is provided by Beamy News, but you guys could catch it, at your leisure. Just follow her on Instagram. When she pulls out, the first time I saw her at age 8, pull out with that big red, black, and green flag, every ride she comes out with that red, black, and green, and the crowd goes, wow. So I actually have been speaking with a Black rodeo historian who we're going to have on a program shortly. He's dealing with some personal issues, but he's definitely going to come on the program because his wealth of knowledge in this is powerful. I remember, if you're from Fort Greene and you know Fort Greene, the Carter family, Mr. Carter will always make sure the black cowboys came to Fort Greene Day, and the kids would ride the horses. It was just so powerful. So I've been in love with this lifestyle for a while. So I guess that may be quite shocking to some people. Some of my favorite artists are country music artists. Some of your favorite artists, especially some of you olders in the group, you didn't even know they were country music artists. One that I know that Tad's heard before. Our parents have played it before, and it's a song called "Show and Tell," written by Al Wilson. That's a country music song. That whole album is a country music album. And if you hear the other songs on the album, especially one that he wrote about his mother, you can't deny his legacy in that genre. People I listen to now, like Kane Brown or Blanco Brown or Mickey Guyton, they just off the meter with it. So I'm getting a little excited. But check out Courtney Solomon on Instagram and follow her and see her compete. You will not be disappointed. She will blow your mind. Brother Tad, we got you now. We got you now.
Yeah, we in here. We in here like a wedgie. Internet was crazy. It was in and out. Had to do some configuration, cut some devices off, but I'm here now, and I'm glad to be here. I miss y'all. I miss you, sis. I miss the audience. I miss just building, but we got certain assignments we got to complete, in our lives. So
definitely, bro. But we glad to have you black with us. We glad to have you black.
Yeah. I came in when you was playing Queen Mother Moore, and it just felt so good to see her face and hear her voice. I love Queen Mother Moore. She was one of the contributors to my early development and coming into the consciousness and awareness of what's going on with our folks, what's owed to us, and all of those things. So it's definitely good to see her, especially in Women's History Month, because that's a queen I don't think get enough props and respect and her just due.
Absolutely. Shout out to the History Hitman. If you missed his lecture last week, you can check it on the Thorough Black Talk Facebook page. We reposted it there. He started with the black women history, and I'm gonna follow up with that next week down there. So shout out to the History Hitman. He says Sam Cooke wrote and sang the immortal classic Chain Gang. Yes, because that's where all of that come from. And I don't understand, how you have these black commentators and media personalities who will allow other folks come on their platform and tell them that they worked the chain, they were on the game, and they did the railroads. When you did a section. Word. And it wasn't that long. They had to then go back and find more black workers because you couldn't do it all. Just go to a library. That's what I'll say. Go to a library and don't let these people come to you with no foolishness.
I'm always impressed by Brother Mike Gray's level of information, how right and exact and on point. Like every time he talks, you learn something new. Because, keeping in step, I didn't even know that about the song Chain Gang.
Yeah. You weren't here. I don't think you were here that week, Tad, when we were talking about Sam Cooke.
No.
He's the one who put Lou Rawls on.
A couple of weeks ago, I just found myself listening to Lou Rawls. I was thinking about my elders and growing up in the house with my grandparents when they were young, and my mother and them were still young adults. So the party was my grandmother's and her brothers and her siblings. And they used to rock Lou Rawls in the crib. And
wow.
Felt the need to play that. So it's funny that how everything comes full circle and how the universe speaks to us loud and clear. Because I never played Lou Rawls.
Mm.
I needed it. You know, I needed to feel connected with the elders and the ancestors.
Mm-hmm.
Dropped out the Lou Rawls for the day.
There you go. Get you right. Mike, do you know that part in the song where it's going, huh, huh, huh? You know that's Lou Rawls on the chorus, right? There's two popular songs of Sam Cooke with Lou Rawls is on the chorus. Next time we meet next week, Mike, I'll give you the other one. Because Mike loves music history just like I do as well. I wanted to show a video of another Queen Mother who we all know, Brother Tad knows, and I know, Sister Leola Maddox, or Queen Mother Leola Maddox, who also gave a lot to children, a lot to the community, especially here in New York. Here is a plaque that was dedicated to her, Teaneck Library, and she was a librarian in Teaneck and at Medgar Evers College. This was an unveiling that was for her. That's her son Charles.
Oh!
Yes. So as you enter, take a peek.
That is.
You see it say Mama Maddox because of all that she gave. Hold on one second, family.
Here is the proclamation. Whereas Leola Weaver Maddox, affectionately known as Mama Maddox, was born on January 12, 1945 in Manchester, Georgia. Leola was a resident of New York City, where she provided educational services at Medgar Evers College for 20 years. And whereas Leola was a pillar in Teaneck, having served in the Teaneck Public Schools since 1987. Leola was also a member of the Township of Teaneck Library Board. And whereas Leola was a civil rights activist, a scholar, and an advocate for underserved communities. And whereas Leola, in conjunction with her organization, the United Africa Movement, provided a lecture series and community outreach in Brooklyn. For several decades, Leola directed a summer sleepaway camp for the children of Harlem, where they experienced the great outdoors of upstate New York at no cost to the families. And now, therefore, be it resolved that we, the Township Council of the Township of Teaneck, County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, do hereby recognize the many talents, contributions, and accomplishments of Leola Weaver Maddox. Thank you.
For me personally, because I've worked with this Queen Mother for many years, that's something that touched me personally. One thing about Mrs. Maddox, her demeanor was always the same. Whenever you saw her, it was always the same. There were only 2 times where I seen her go off. Only 2 times. But she was always mild-mannered. To provide education for the entire state of New York, because you would have people who came from upstate, people who came from Jersey to come to these weekly forums to hear and learn from some of the greatest scholars and educators on the planet. You had a membership like no other. A lot, like I said before, a lot of the videos that you guys see now on social media or YouTube, for example, were recorded out of the United African Movement. And she ran everything like a fine-tooth comb. Everything. Go ahead, Tad.
Just a few of the members of the UAM, few of the more known members of the UAM.
Oh, like Dr. Khalid Abdul Muhammad.
Ashe.
You had people like Dr. John Henry Clark,
Ashe.
Amos Wilson,
Ashe.
Yosef bin Yakinen,
Ashe.
Shashi McIntyre,
Ashe.
Dr. Leonard Jeffries,
Ashe.
Professor James McIntosh.
Ashe.
Do you want me to stop? I'll be up here all day.
Steve Coakley.
Steve Coakley. I
So
mean,
many people. So many. You know, and the UAM was extremely instrumental to my early development, because I probably went to the first world maybe once or twice, but the UAM every Wednesday, from when they were at the Slave Theater to moving to the Masonic Temple on Claremont. Because I remember when they left the Slave Theater, I didn't know where they were for a while, and then somebody told me it was at the Masonic Temple on Claremont, I think, and that was later, like in 97. Like 97, yeah, about 97, 98, something like that. But like, I think 95, 96, they were at the UAM, at the Slave Theater. And that's when I started coming into the consciousness. At least knowing where to go get the real, because I was reading the books in the beginning, reading Malcolm, reading Frederick Douglass, and then somebody's like, yo, you ever read Dr. John Henry Clark? And I'm like, nah, I never heard of him. And they put me onto that book, and then Dr. Amos Wilson, and then it just opened me up. And then somebody's like, yo, you need to go down over here to the Slave Theater on Wednesdays. And I was like, oh, it was like church for me. You know what I'm saying? And I was in my early to mid 20s, and I was trying to get dudes my age, like, yo, because we sit on the corner and talk about it. We talk about our story and talk about Black folks, but ain't nothing like it.
Facts. You see the young lady with the blue hoodie on?
Yes.
You know whose daughter is that?
No.
Now, this was the 2010 at one of the Freedom Retreat for Girls session, right? I worked the girls session. That's Professor Copper's daughter.
Wow.
That's Professor Copper's daughter.
Wow.
My daughter is right here next to her.
But yeah.
Yeah, and my daughter is right here next to her. Now, this young lady, Amina, came every year from Puerto Rico. Her English was a little off at that time, but when you see them together, they look so much alike, all of them. And there's a picture I have with a lot of the girls, and they resemble each other so much. And I always used to tell them that your ancestors called you here. There's a reason why you all look so much alike. When we would line them up and get them ready to go on the buses, you had to do spot checks because, of course, we told them no cell phones, no, nothing. Clothes and the supplies we asked you to bring. That's it. So, girls who were used to it, they would do it for us. So we didn't have to do it. And so it became a family, right? All of these young ladies are adults now. This is Mrs. Maddox's granddaughter right here. So all of these young ladies are adults and mothers of their own, right? Still very good friends, still connect with each other. And so I just wanted to point out that's Professor Caba's daughter in that shot. But, they had so much fun. This elder right here in the military camouflage jacket, she was a high-ranking officer in the Air Force. So you had people around them who can give them insight on various things about life to help them move throughout life. And I can tell you one thing: if to be there is to know it. If you haven't been there, I can't explain the connection that we all had the connection with the children. Like I said, I'm still in contact with all of them to this day. I know what they're doing, all of them. I just ran into this one last week or last month rather. In Midtown Manhattan, they had African drumming classes. You had Brother Dudley, another military man. And when I tell you need to learn about herbs and things like that, Dudley was the man. This is Miss Maddox sitting right here in the back. Young ladies taking their drumming classes. This one is, I'm telling you, powerful, powerful. You had boxing classes. You had archery classes. We went out on different events. So in 2 weeks, everything was so power packed. There was activities nonstop, right? Or classes that they had to take nonstop. And they loved it so much. That's my cousin right there with the yellow one. But they loved it so much that these young ladies would literally cry. Every year they would cry when the buses, then you had to line up on Sunday to come back to New York City from upstate. They would cry. They would cry. And you would have new girls who, of course, who were afraid. This is their first time away from home. And I would tell them, you're going to love it. You're going to love it. And I would tell their parents, if they don't love it, I will give them their money back. The great Ollie McLean sitting right there at the end of the table. Ollie McLean, you have Brother Anuni. Now, when you look at people like, this is them at Harriet Tubman's gravesite in Auburn, New York. So to do so many different things and to connect with their heritage was a powerful thing. I can only tell you all that I wish this thing could continue, that we could revamp it. It is very difficult to do, especially when you want to keep it for Black children only and you want it only funded by Black people. A lot of people want to get in the way when you do things like that, unfortunately. And I had to learn that very valuable lesson. But again, these young ladies and even the boys, they would come back, the older boys, they would come back to be security, right? Because you have to think, we have to protect Sister Veronica right there. But she was the nurse. You have to protect these children on 67 acres of land, right? So you have brothers who will come, like Brother Tyrone, who will do security. You got to be on 24-hour watch. And they learn, the great teacher, Brother Harold Wilbur, they learned how to rely on their own survival skills, right? When you saw them sleeping on the campground, we would lead them to the campground at night. They weren't allowed to use flashlights. There was no light. We made them go through that darkness because your ancestors had to go through that. Harriet Tubman ain't have no light. Don't complain that you can't see. You don't know where you're going. You're afraid of the water. Don't say that. Your ancestors had to make it through. So who are you to complain? And today, I see so many children who are coddled. And you doing them a disservice the way you coddle a lot of these children. Y'all got to stop that. You'd be surprised what they can do. If you let them to their own devices, leave them. They will be fine. You have mothers and fathers, we would do the orientation, Tad, they would be like, well, my daughter or my son is this. Soon as they going, it's a whole different ball game. And when the parents would come up there for the barbecue, they would be so surprised. My child did this. My child took law classes. My child can take advanced math classes and pass with flying colors and love it. Come on. We had a better way of doing things. I want to give a special shout out to Professor Kaba because he created the curriculum. There were classes all day, every day. There was no fooling around up there. And so you didn't need television. You didn't need gaming systems because their time was occupied all day, every day. And they loved it. I see Sister Marcia in the background. What's up, Sister Marcia? How you feeling? What's good with you?
Peace, family. Thank you
Peace.
for having me. And as we talk about the children, that's my work. That's my precious joy. Those babies, making sure that they have the fortitude to move forward. And that's what you say the Freedom Academy was doing. Freedom Academy? Did I say that right?
Freedom
Retreat.
Freedom Retreat. Thank you, family.
It's because we had to listen. In order to, let me tell you something, the brilliant legal mind of automatics. And this is why I'm very particular on words that I use, right? I'm very particular. If we had called it a sleepaway summer camp, there could have been a lot of problems because we wanted for Black children only. And so we had to call it a retreat, right? You can retreat, you have church retreats, all kind of retreats. Everybody's not included, right? A lot of people didn't like the way UAM was handling things, right? So much so that the New York Post sued United African Movement and lost. And that's why all of you today can have a private meeting without including white folks, because we fought and won. So you have UAM to thank for that. So again, you know, when it comes to history, we look at particular people, a particular place, or a particular moment, but we have to study the intricate parts of history so that we can fully understand what it is, where it is, how factual it is, and how can we progress from using it, right? So we got to look at the whole story.
And that's what I continue and hope that African on the Rise does with the children, right? In the veins of everything that I'm learning from you and all the other elderships that are coming through the door and supporting me, that type of information to give the children, because and for us to understand that we have to have a way for them too, so that they don't fall into becoming inculcated by the system if they don't have an avenue within the community. But this is great. This is great.
Absolutely. And I'm looking forward to our camping trip.
Our hike. Our one-day hike.
Our hike.
You know what? I'll work on figuring out how to get a spot, you know, a location, so that we could do a 3-day thing, right? A 3-day summit, a 3-day freedom summit or retreat for the children.
There you go. Proper wording.
Yes.
Proper wording, so you don't get into any legal trouble in case you got some haters.
Ashe.
Well, Sister Keisha, let me ask you, and Sister Marcia, did y'all see that them folks had Whoopi in a hot seat for using the word gypped? Gypped. Like when somebody gypped you?
No.
What does gypped mean to you? If you got gypped?
Got cheated.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Got robbed.
These folks are now saying they got her apologizing again. Poor Whoopi.
For what? For saying she was cheated?
For saying she was gypped.
So what do they use the word gyp as?
I don't know. It's something.
What is their definition?
With the Slavic, with the gypsies and the Slavic people, it's just amazing on how we always have to tailor our language to accommodate everybody else, but they could say the N-word and profit off it daily.
Yes.
They could profit Black death daily. They could profit off of negative images and stereotypes, because they got a Real Housewives of some South African country that's on TV now, and it's just about as ratchet as the Atlantas. And it's just amazing. It's amazing on how they control our image and manufacture these stereotypes.
Because we don't want to control our image. I'm afraid to say.
You know what it is, sis? And I would disagree, because we do want to control our image. We don't have the mechanism to mass produce what it is that we represent. You know, it's not like we're not out here. We're here every week. And this is just on a platform that we're here. But this is our daily lives to always uplift Black folks, talk about the greatness of who we are and things we have done and things that we're working towards. So it's not that we don't exist. It's we don't have that mass mass communication mechanism in place. We don't have no major networks to really celebrate who we are. So even when you look at BET, we don't own it, we don't control it. So yes, they'll have our faces there, and the people they do put in power don't represent us in the best light. So even with you take a Tyler Perry, you see he even toned it down when Spike Lee had something negative to say about it. That gave Tyler Perry a reason to pause and look at, well, how do he represent Black people? And not saying he's doing the best, but he's definitely doing better than before.
Yes, he is trying. He is trying. I'll give you that.
Yeah. He's trying, you know, and I don't knock nobody trying to clean themselves up. You know, I think that's one of the things we find in our community. When somebody do try to get it together, we don't support them. You know?
That's why we always have to look at the two faces. The easiest thing for us to look at is the two faces of Malcolm X, right? He was in the streets, and then he galvanized the people to do more for themselves. And I think, you know, there are opportunities for us to do programming. I think we just find it, we just see like the fear in it, like, oh my God, we can't do it. But we got to start small and do it. We can do it. We might not come out blazing with 1 million people, but we'll blaze with 50 people. Like, you know, we'll blaze as we blaze. But too many times we want to hit a home run before we hit some RBIs or some fouls and some trying to put some sports in it. But I don't know sports very well. But, you know, I'm silly. But we have to just try. If we're not trying and we're always saying we don't have, then, but we have enough cameras. We have enough people that know how to film. We have enough telephones. You know, we have enough. We just don't see, we can't imagine it. We can't reimagine it to create it, but we have it and we could do it. We just have to.
The problem is? The problem is we're stuck in leader mode. And this is why how you study history is very important. Everybody's waiting on the next big one.
Ashe.
To do anything.
Ashe.
To do anything. And, you know, that just comes from the indoctrination of how we were taught.
Ashe.
Right? To wait on the one. To seek out the one. And this is why when I study, you know, I look at the whole picture. Sister Pat, UAM member, said, and I quote, Manu Southgate tried to infiltrate our Wednesday meetings and sued us at Human Rights Commissions, which attorney at war, Alton Maddox, was successful. Try to tell y'all.
Yeah, and see, and this speaks to what you both are saying, you know, in terms of us controlling our image. Because the fact of the matter is that we need a true revolution. Here it is. We're trying to be free on some soil that ain't really ours. We cultivated, but we really need to reimagine the new Africa. Like Sister Marcia said, you know, we have to just use our imagination. That's something Dr. Amos Wilson always talked about. He talked about the importance of developing our children's imagination. You know, we don't think freely enough. Like I often say, you know, freedom is subjective because you ask our people, what does freedom look like? People are always going to have a different definition. So we have to get on board now and decide what freedom is. What are we talking about? Because we can invest on the continent. Everything we want is there. But unfortunately, we're still trying to create as captives.
Right. And make
oppress people while they're opening the floodgates for other people to replace us. As Sister Keisha started at the top of the show, when I came in, was Queen Mother Moore, and I'm quite sure she was talking about reparations. And here's the thing, when we talk to Black people who say, do we deserve reparations? Should we get it? It's not whether we deserve it or should we. It was already agreed upon. And that's the thing. It was already agreed upon, but meanwhile, we see other people reap the benefits off of our labor. We see people who have no attachment to this soil, whether you're talking about Jewish folks whether you're talking about Ukrainians, whether you're talking about South American people. All these people are benefiting from what we have built. So I don't even know why there's a question if we should be compensated for all that we've done here. And like,
because we don't understand our pain.
Right.
I agree with you. We don't understand the legacy that our ancestors created, and we choose. Go ahead.
But no, what I was gonna say, Queen, real quick, and I'm gonna give you the mic back. We're in an abusive relationship.
Yes.
We're in an abusive relationship, and we're still waiting for our significant other to act right. Yes. You know, they talk a good one, and we're waiting for them to stop going upside our head. You know, saying, "Oh, it'll get better. It'll get better." At what point do we leave this abusive relationship? We can go right back to Mama.
We do love, as a culture, we do love struggle love, right? We find that it's not good if we're not struggling, right? No one wants to thrive in love. No one wants to grow in love. They just want to struggle. They want it to be hard. They want it to be difficult, and you know, that whole idea where hard times create soft people and all of them, that time, I can't remember the analogy really good, but it's that whole struggle that we just thrive in, and we shouldn't be thriving in struggle.
That's what we call the movement, the Black struggle. And
we should no, I ain't for it. I don't think Sister Keisha's for it. I don't think you're for it. Yeah. That whole idea that I must struggle in order to achieve, or my children must struggle in order to achieve, I'm tired of it.
We ain't got to struggle though.
I'm tired of it.
You know, Frederick Douglass said, "Without struggle, there's no progress." And I think sometimes we forget that even our most revered ancestors are human, and sometimes we got to revisit some of the things they say, and it may not be applicable for where we are right now. That's why I always
exactly.
Because the freedom he fought for is not the freedom we're fighting for. You know, we are beyond what Frederick Douglass could have imagined.
And like I like to say, a broken clock is right, you know, twice a day. I know some people on this panel does not like that saying, but it's true. And he was right at a particular time, and he's wrong right now. You know, it's not for us right now. And we, you know, through study, through what Sister Keisha was saying earlier, the idea of studying and looking at different ways and different components to make our ability to thrive is very important. It's very important. We shouldn't be looking at a broken clock at any time, but we should recognize, or one of the videos you showed a few weeks back with Dr. Henry Clark, Nana Henry Clark, where he said history is a clock, right? And it tells us where we are. We don't still have to look at 1 o'clock. We are at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock, wherever time you want to look at it. But we must look at that time frame, but understand what happened at 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock, whatever time it is. But we must grow. There's no reason for us to be in this condition right now, in any form of our lives.
Yeah, technology is moving very fast, and we are still running around with antiquated ideas trying to get old goals accomplished when they wouldn't even fit us today. Because even if you get that old goal accomplished, how does it serve you today? Okay, we wanted to sit at counters. We sitting at counters. Now what? You know what I'm saying? We wanted to ride on the front of the bus. We on the front of the bus. Now what? We wanted to work here. We wanted to work there. We wanted to live here. We wanted to live there. Now what? These conditions still exist because there need to be a re-education, a mental reprogramming of who we are collectively as a group, because we're the only ones who identify as a collective but operate individually. Because even within our movement, we see the leadership don't always get along. And we're one of the few groups on the planet that figure we can't work with two sets of leaders. You know, if you work with this leader, you can't work with this one. If you follow Dr. King, you can't rock with Malcolm. If you rock with Malcolm, you can't rock with Dr. King. And that's so wrong, because even till this day, you see it. You'll look at a video or read a book. Oh, you reading that by Son? Oh, I don't mess with Son. He can't tell me nothing. And he might have the most valuable jewels or missing piece that you need in your life. In your life. because I always tell people we got to work for the group, but think for ourselves. We got to work for the group, but think for ourselves, because too many times in all of these movements, I see everybody with a monolithic thinking like it's a cult. Like even when we was in the other group a few years back, it was this monolithic thinking like we're in a cult. And if you don't agree with the leader or the representative, something wrong with you. As if my mind don't work. As if I need somebody else to think for me. I could think for myself. And I don't agree with everybody.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I'm quite sure
critical thinking.
Know what I want everybody to agree with me.
Brother Tad, it's like they want us to be critical thinkers in our organizations, right? In our respective organizations. But yet, when we come in front of the respective organization, no more thinking. Listen, just listen and do as I said. That's it. That's it. I said this is da 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 da. You're like, wait a minute. Again, here goes the abusive struggle relationship, right? Because it's just what you said. That's it. And then you, unfortunately, we walk away from great potential because it is just what you say. And you're just like, oh my God, it cannot be like this. And so you walk away and you're just sitting there like, where is the family that my ancestors dreamed of? Because I know I'm ready for it, but everybody wants me to like acquiesce to something, or, you know, I'm just taking it personally right now, but it shouldn't be like this. It should be that we're able to dialogue in free ways and see how we can grow, because expansion is ours. But right now we're not expanding. We are definitely not growing, not expanding. You know, we have our pocket group that does the greatest work. I am so in love with my African family. But in order for us to expand, we must be willing to criticize each other openly and freely without someone feeling like, oh, they interrogating me and they're this and that and they're the bad guy and you're, you know, and I'm the good guy. No, absolutely not. I cannot anymore. Ego. Who said that? Plant-based? That's right. Ego, sis, or brother, family. Yeah, that whole ego needs to go away.
It has destroyed just every movement. And you know, speaking of what Brother Tad, you know, mentioned, I'm watching some of these videos online. A lot of people I respect, but I can tell they've learned nothing from the past. The same type of divisionist tactics that were used with the Black Panther Party and US organization and and the BLM, the same tactics. People are still engaging in that. I'm like, you learn nothing. You've learned nothing. Why are you arguing with people online, number one? If you have a particular discipline and someone else doesn't, listen, you step in there. If they can do something better than you can, step up in there. When it comes to the physical body and training, you want to ask me, you better go to Tad, because you're talking to the wrong person. But we are confident enough in who we are. That wouldn't bother us.
Right.
But some people who are ego-driven, going all the way back to Mr. Marcus Messiah Garvey, 300,000 people that this woman brought to your organization, and you banded them, you beat on them, they walked away and were more successful without being inclusive. So then it began to topple down. Many organizations, I can go back, pick one. You always have people who will come in and destroy it. And those in leadership, a lot of them are so ego-driven that they can't even
with the Haitian Revolution, sis.
There you go.
With the Haitian Revolution, you know, the man helped you free the land. This is what we are calling for, free the land. And you want to cry back, hey, daddy, I could get rid of this guy. I could do this. And now look at the land. Look at the land. I hope this person is toiling and people are rolling over him with a bulldozer every hour, every second. Like, look what you did because you wanted to.
You freezing up, sis. Uh-oh, you freezing up. The history hitman, he said, hold on, let me pull you out and bring you back in.
You're on
Maybe
fire.
that might work.
You're on fire. They don't want that smoke.
Let me try to bring her back in. Maybe it might work now. Hold on. There she goes. She back.
Why am I
You cause too much trouble. You're a troublemaker. You got to be watched and regulated. You see what I'm talking about?
Yeah, right. Them folks.
You.
But read what Brother Mike wrote, sis.
He said UAM was so black, strong, and uncompromising that Southgate and Curtis Sliwa, Mayor Koch, Mayor Dinkins, and others tried to break that strong African spirit. 100. I tell you, boy, I'm waiting for the day that someone does a documentary on UAM. Then you want to see a documentary? For example, another thing. When we talk about, let me pull Sister Marcia out. Let's try to let her work that out behind the scenes. Sister Pat said, Dr. Clark stated, history is a clock that people use to tell their particular cultural time of day. Facts. Now, I'm waiting on the day when somebody do a documentary on the United African Movement and the Freedom Party. You remember when the documentary came out about the Central Park Five? And then they went on a speaking tour, and they talked about when they were going to get, or when it was decided that they would get reparations for their unjust incarceration. Do you know a man by the name of James Patnod worked tirelessly, crisscross the goddamn state to get petitions signed so those boys can get reparations, those young men, excuse me. Nobody talks about James Patnod. I would see Patnod on the train station at 5:45 a.m. getting signatures so that those young men can get reparations. Nobody would ever mention them. What about the fact that the United African Movement raised the money for their bail? You didn't see that part. So this is what I'm saying. We have selective history, revisionist history, feel-good history, as Dr. Amos used to talk about. But you got to tell the whole story, right? The history hitman, he's still in the chat. I think he's still in there. We used to always go to the Gullah Festival in Beaufort, South Carolina. We went every year to the Gullah Festival, UAM. This one particular year, Mike Graves was supposed to speak to the audience. You got 500,000 people out there to talk about the plight of the Central Park survivors. Mike and Harold, Mike, I don't think he wanted to do it. I think he wanted to go with Harold because him and Harold used to go buy books. We get down there. It's an old college professor who used to sell books. Matter of fact, I got 2 of them right here that I got. But anyway, do you know we stood before 500,000 people to get signatures and support for the Central Park survivors? You would never hear that. You would never hear that. So I'm waiting for a documentarian to tell our real story, to let people see all the work that the United African Movement did for the state of New York and beyond. And beyond. It will blow your mind. We'll be here 3 weeks if I tell you everything that UAM did and put their hands in everything. The mere fact that Medgar Evers College got a law department now. Come on, y'all better stop playing. You don't know who was working behind the scenes. So we got to tell history, and we got to tell it in its entirety. So that's why I had to big up Sister Leola Maddox and all the women of UAM, Sister Geneva Butts, many women who came through there. Everything that you know, peace be upon Karen Mason. Huge supporter, contributor, and true story. Like I said before, there were some Black celebrities who contributed to the Freedom Retreat for boys and girls that y'all would never know about. But some people talk about these folks, but you don't know what they was doing behind the scenes. So let's look at history in its totality. Never look at a place, a person, a thing, or one particular time in history and say that's it, that's all it was. Sister Pat says selective amnesia. That's the comment I was looking for, sis. Thank you. Selective amnesia. For an organization to build its own political party that had the powers to be in this state shook. You got voters today. If you ask, let me ask y'all, Sister Marcia, how many counties in the state of New York?
In the entire state.
How many counties do we have? Just give me a guess.
Over 100.
Your thoughts, Brother Tag?
I was going to say about 50.
It's more closer to what Taz said. 62 counties. It's 62 counties in the state of New York. I know that off the rip because when we was with the Freedom Party, you had to get signatures and a certain amount of petitions in every county of the state. And one person who worked tirelessly was James Patnard. Nobody would ever call this man's name. See what I'm saying? There were people on the ground who was doing a whole lot of work. So I just had to bring that up. I want y'all to do me a favor. Please follow the OG Wisdom Podcast on all your streaming platforms. Appreciate that. Yeah. I want to show y'all a real clip for 1 minute on the first Black-owned record label. Here we go right here. Let me take this out here. Was Swan Records. Now, do you know where they got the name Swan Records from? Where they get the name Swan from? Anybody know where they get the name Swan from Swan Records?
No, I don't know.
Well, it was from a great opera singer. So the first Black record label was named after a Black woman. Hold on, family.
Harry H. Pace was a music publisher who founded Black Swan Records, the first widely distributed record company owned by an African American. Mr. Pace met with W.C. Handy in 1912, and the two men collaborated and wrote songs together. They founded the Pace and Handy Music Company, which brought Mr. Pace to New York City. In 1921, he formed the Pace Phonographic Corporation, renamed Black Swan Phonograph Company in the fall of 1922. Both the production and record company were named after Elizabeth Taylor Greenfield, a 19th century opera star known as the Black Swan.
So there you have it, family. There's some music history for you. So now that you know, the first Black record label was named after a Black woman. So let nobody tell y'all no foolishness out here. Now, all these record labels, you got Virgin, Arista, Geffen, all these different labels, they owe it to a Black woman and a Black man. Like we said before, we have to take control of what we created, right? All of these labels are multi-billionaires, billion labels, right? Where's the legacy for Black folks who started it all? That's reparations. All of that is gone. The same with the inventions, right? A lot of us wearing glasses, you know, A lot of us get LASIK surgery. You know, black women did all that.
Yep.
Where's the legacy? All of these different companies, Schwab's, and all these other places making millions off of what we created. That's reparation. Give me back everything. Everything. The mere fact that you can squat and piss on a toilet, you owe that to me. Give it back. I want everything in money and in blood. That's what I want. Brother Ashe, the fire god in the building. What's up, Ashe?
Yeah. Nah, that's real talk, man. Keisha always pulling them gems up for real. But that's interesting about, you know, the name Swan, you know, and it just reminded me as soon as you said opera singer, because one of the most popular operas in theater itself is Swan Lake, you know. So I wonder if there's some history attachment to that, where, you know, we be behind the scenes writing and building stages and all of that. So I'm sure there's a whole list of credits that we never got as far as black people when it comes to theater in general. So we gonna have to do some more research on that, because you said her last name was Swan, and Swan Lake that's like one of the big ones right there.
Her last name wasn't Swan. They called her the Black Swan, right? Her name was Elizabeth, but they called her the Black Swan because of her vocal style.
Right.
And then he decided to name the label after her.
Wow. That's very interesting. Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised if the actual Black Swan was, Black Swan. I mean, it makes sense now. You know what I'm saying? You know what they took? They coded, it's encoded, but we know what they really talking about, the Black Swan, because they get their inspiration from us with everything. You know what I'm saying? So that's interesting that, you know, to tie those two together. So listening audience, we need y'all to do the research, do the history, study, and dig into that yourself, because we all students up here. We are not, you know, on a pedestal or whatever. We all, like Ty said, he learned from Mike Graves. We all learn from Keisha, everybody. We all regurgitate the knowledge that we acquire, you know what I'm saying? And each one teach one, you know? So I want the listening audience to get on here and do the research on that. But, you know, definitely I wanna say, you know, we definitely got to honor our warrior women. You know, I know some people don't celebrate these holidays, and they say, oh, that's a white man. You celebrating, Ashe, you celebrating white man, black woman. You celebrating white man, Women History Month? The white man said you could celebrate Women History Month. Yo, some of us be too damn conscious, man. But I don't know the history behind Women's History Month. That's another thing we got to look into as well. But one thing I do know is that we celebrate our women every single day of every month of every year. You know what I'm saying? So this is just another day for them to collectively get highlighted and feel good about themselves. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, shout out to Baba Baruti, who created Warrior Women's Day. You know what I'm saying? But whatever opportunity we could get, we definitely gonna highlight our sisters and, you know, make sure that they are felt and appreciated. You know, because like Keisha said, it's a lot of history. A lot of women done some powerful things, you know, for our people. If it wasn't for them, we wouldn't even be. I know I wouldn't be here. I got a belly button. So I know my ass wouldn't be here at all. So I don't know about y'all talking about white man's Women's History Month or whatever. But this how we rocking up here, man. I'm taking any opportunity to salute and hail up our queens, man. So and remember, like we always say, you know, the history is fine too, but start with your family. You know what I'm saying? Start with your sister, your mother, you know, if you got children or whatever, nieces and nieces, you know what I'm saying? Those going to be women. So they're going to be looking at you to see how you as a brother operate and maneuver and even speak to the women that's around you. You know, everything is, they are sponges. So, you know, you definitely want to implant these positive and uplifting messages to the youth before you when they see you moving, because some of these people up here, they so conscious and they got so much books and knowledge and information and all of that. Look at how they treat women. Look how they talk to the women. Look how they deal with the sisters. You know what I'm saying? Look how they take advantage or even abuse some of them. And in this quote unquote conscious community, it's a lot of stories, trust me, that I done heard, and stories that happen from even some of the OGs that get swept under the rug because of their wealth of knowledge and information. But what about how they treat our people? You know what I'm saying? It's like Ashe don't do that. I don't care how much book smart or history books and lessons you got. If you ain't balanced and you ain't really upholding that ma'at, you know what I'm saying, where you walk in what you talk, I can't rock with you. You know what I'm saying? That's just me. I'm genuine. You know, so it's very important for us as brothers to always uplift our sisters any opportunity that we can, because we know that we are supportive. We know that the real brothers that's out there, we always are supportive. But there's also a large amount of dudes out here, you know them, we know them, that are not supportive. You know what I'm saying? So if we got to do a little bit of extra work, I'm up for the goddamn task. You feel me? That's light work, you know, to make our sisters feel appreciated and on an equal level, you know, a complimentary level with all of their talents and skills. And it's incredible, you know, like I love just talking and just building. I got so many platonic women friends in my life that I never like had nothing with. We just friends, you know what I'm saying? I keep them like that because that insight and that balance to you know, perception, the way they perceive things is very valuable. You know what I'm saying? Not to mention the talent and the skills that women have. So, you know, every opportunity I get, I definitely want to make them feel supported. And everybody know Ashe is a protector. Sisters and Tad as well. Sisters come to us all the time, telling us about this and that and this. I'm like, where you at? What's going on? You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, if it's a stand-up, strong sister, you know, we definitely got to honor them. Not saying some of these other ones that just set you up for a trap. We know that, you know, but at the same time, it's like, listen, if we don't protect our women, nobody gonna protect our women. Malcolm X said that's the least protected person on the planet is the black woman. So that's our job and responsibility to protect them. You know, so and protecting don't mean just physically. It means spiritually, psychologically, mentally, all of that. You know what I'm saying? So it's very important. But what you pulling? I see you pulling something up, Sister Keisha.
Yeah, this is just because I wanted to talk real quick about Shirley Graham Dubois. I know you guys have seen some images of her when y'all went on your trip to Ghana. Um, let me tell you, this woman was so powerful. Not only did she have the FBI on her back, but she had the CIA on her back as well. So I was able to find a letter that she wrote to someone talking about how the CIA was on her back. But just for context, this woman was a composer, she was a playwright, she was an actress, she was a drummer, biographer, editor, novelist, political activist. On the screen, I'm showing you from the archives some of the books that she wrote. She wrote about Paul Robeson. She wrote about Booker T. Washington. We started out the program with Phyllis Wheatley. She wrote a book on Phyllis Wheatley. She wrote about the political time of day. You guys can go to archive.org and put in Shirley Graham Dubois and read some of the books and writings that she had. You will not be disappointed. There is a letter. Um, she wanted to go back to Ghana for Nkrumah for some sort of celebration. But she got wind that the feds was watching her. Can y'all see that on the screen or no?
No.
All right, hold on, give me a second. There we go. Can you see it now?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. She writes. Let me try to expand this so we all could see. This was February 1st, 1964. She's writing to someone named Aronson, James Aronson, the National Guardian of New York City. She says, "Dear Jim, I received your cable yesterday requesting article from me and one from Huntington for February 7th. Alphaeus returns February 7th from a 6-week tour of Africa, followed by a 4-week vacation in Europe. I am at the moment preparing a series of lectures on why television in Ghana, its goals and potentials." Then she writes, I'm going to skip here, says, "I am being called in for a conference on the highest levels on constructive measures and projects now being undertaken by the government of Ghana. You see, Jim, for the first time in my life, I am functioning actively as a citizen of state. And this state is moving at a tremendous pace out into uncharted waters. With the best will in the world, I cannot possibly produce any reflections on the current U.S. Negro Revolution. You must remember that I have been away from the United States for nearly 3 years. I have this fall, or rather last fall, insisted that my dear staff, Freedom Ways, accept my resignation as editor because it's totally impossible for me to give further constructive guidance to that journal. This, and the letter goes on, but she talks about how, the feds are watching her. She calls them the dirty CIA, right? There was someone in her midst. If I can go to the FBI files, this is one where, because of the organizations that she was in, and she was fighting against Israel in their approach to Africa also. All federal agencies were watching Shirley Graham Dubois. When she wrote about Paul Robeson and the connection that she and others had to the Communist Party at that time, the feds was really on her. So it was a guy, the agent number is in this file, but he was around her and reporting on her every move. And she really at one point had to stop moving around because they were watching her so heavily. But she was a very complex woman. She took no mess from nobody. Um, Again, I think WEB was 40 years older than her, maybe, when they married. She I believed was in her early 50s and he was already in his 80s when they married. Prior to that, she was married to someone else. She had two sons. One of her sons is part of a documentary about his mother. It's on YouTube. You guys can check that out. His name is David Graham. But she was one of the persons that Sister Marcia was talking about, right? She had a problem with a whole lot of leadership. She couldn't deal with that. And she said most people who sit in leadership, in her opinion, were in the way. In the way. She said you had to learn how to move throughout the United States and the world when you're on different planes. Because sometimes she spent time in Africa, of course, she spent time in France and in other places. But, her main residence, or their main residence, was here in New York and Brooklyn in particular at one point. She would give a lot of these cats a run for their money. So they were complicit in giving information about her and her movements. So if you guys get a chance, you can definitely go to archive.org and pull up the FBI file and you can see for yourself. When she started hanging out really with Paul Robeson and Nkrumah, that really did it. It was over after that. So she had to pretty much stay in the States. And then she was in exile. She went, not in exile, but she died in China. She was in China because she didn't feel safe here. She wrote about Weeksville back then. She talked about the great history of it and, her family's connection to that. And there's a book, you guys can get it. It's written by Dr. Gerald Horn, and it's called Race Woman, The Lives of Shirley Graham Dubois. Is an excellent read if you want to find more information about her, but definitely worth the read. So a shout out to Shirley Graham Dubois. We always talk about the husbands, but these women were a force to be reckoned with. In fact, like I said, Wednesday I will be at BK William Mackey History Club. You're going to want to check that out because I'm going to go into great detail about Mrs. Graham Dubois, about Phyllis Wheatley. I don't know if you caught it earlier, Ashe, but I let the audience know that, you hear this term now, white privilege, right? And it was Phyllis Wheatley who coined that phrase back in the 1700s, white privilege. So, and Sister Pat won a T-shirt with that. So I got to give her a T-shirt when I see her on Wednesday for getting the right answer. But
I think her birthday just passed too. Like I think it was like last month. Birthday just passed. Yeah.
Very, very unique style of writing. And I know Brother Ashe is a poet. But she was the first published literary work in that field. And the way
Hold up, Keisha, you used to be a poet too, right?
Yeah, I did a little bit.
You gotta put you was pulling up everybody old video. I need you to pull up an old Keisha.
Old rap video, right?
Yeah, old
Yeah,
rap.
you missed it last week. I got you and Mama Eileen.
Oh, word.
And Sister Tim. I said, Tad missed that one. I got him. I'll dig in the crates on somebody in a minute.
Were we at Simo Tap?
I think that's what it was, yeah.
It looked like it, or either what's the name in Queens?
Oh, right.
Spot in Queens.
Poetry Theater.
Yes, it looked like that.
It might have been Simo Tap.
Yep. Caught you.
Yeah.
Yeah, shout out to Sister Louise Dente. I believe that was her program.
Yes.
Yeah, it's definitely.
Yes. Definitely. And we all met each other at UAM.
That's a fact.
That's a fact. I think Sister Tony put that in the chat. Sister Tony got a new video out, y'all. Did y'all know she got a new video out for children?
Yes, I loved it.
You loved it?
I
got to pull that up. Yes, I got to pull that up.
A, B, C, D.
So who are some of you guys and lady women in history, Black women in history?
You set it off, Ted?
I would say my mother and my two grandmothers always have been my favorite women. Always. Before they transition, always. And my mother for making me the man that I am. Her and my father, it was equal contribution, but what was so crazy, my mother was the disciplinarian and my father was the nurturer. As gangster as he was, or is, because he's still crazy. My pops is bug. I be telling him, Daddy, you're a great grandfather. You can't be out here fighting. He just, streets is in him. He had no problem with throwing hands, old as he is. So all he talk about is fighting. But yeah, Mom, she never supported anything that I did that was contrary to what she taught me, what she instilled in me, raising me, I remember the first time I was ever arrested, she looked me dead in my face, told the cops, F it, keep him. I was like, and she always told me ever since I was young, she saw the direction I was headed in, and she's like, yo, I'm not going to support you. I'm telling you now, you go to jail, I'm not visiting you. Da-da-da. But one day she actually came to see me, and I was surprised. It was Thanksgiving of 2001, and we had a real heart-to-heart, because at that time, she knew I was trying to change my ways. And that's the one thing about transition, is probably the toughest fight you'll ever have in your life. Trying to change from who you used to be to become who you want to be. You're going to get all types of resistance. The devil shows up, like, the proverbial devil, shows up in all shapes, forms, and fashion. This shows up as lovers. It shows up as friends, family members, everything to try to pull you back into that life that everybody knows you for, as opposed to the life you see yourself stepping into. And my mother has always been supportive. I remember she was not a fan of Dr. Khalid. When she found out I was rolling with Dr. Khalid, she said, well, you be careful, because she believed what she saw on the news till she went to the Million Youth March and saw that foolishness that the police were doing. I said, Ma, this is what they do. Because she was there. So by the time we got home and it was reported on television, it made it seem like Dr. Khalid started the riot. And everybody who was there know that the police was starting with the people before Dr. Khalid even stepped on stage. And that's what prompted them to tell them, if these people touch you, You take their weapons, you take these barricades, and you go upside their head, you know. So she got to see that firsthand and realize that the television is a propaganda machine. But she always believed in me because she knew I was talented. And my two grandmothers, like, I was their baby. I couldn't do no wrong. But I always had a high level of respect around them, so they never really saw me do anything wrong. So yeah, those three women, all the good that you see in me, you know, I give them the credit. Any shortcomings is to my own detriment. That's my fault.
That's
Brother.
what's up. Sister Marcia, real quick, 3 minutes. Who are some of your favorite women in history?
My favorite women in history is, I'm still learning about them. They're living. Dr. Baina Bello, she is my all-time favorite. I can talk to her. I can learn from her. We can have those levels of conversation and be caring, right? So she is my all-time favorite for right now, for this period in my life. I had an aunt who transitioned. There was so much that I wanted to tell her, and her name is Josette Lafont Favier. There's so much that I wanted to tell her, but fear held me captive. So I didn't tell her as much as I wanted to, but she kept me grounded. She kept me understanding life and allowed me to explore my Africanism and be free as a woman. Like, there's no reason for you not to be free. And then I think that's, you know, I could say my grandmother, I could say Betty Shabazz, I could say Ashada Shakur, I could say Amy Jacques Garvey. I can say so many other women, but those two right now are the ones on the top of my head. But those other ones are the ones that I've studied, right?
Got you. Brother Ashe.
Yeah, for me it's my great aunt Ella Swindell. I know everybody got an Ella in their family if you're from the South. My aunt Ella, she was the truth, man. Everybody in the hood out here on my side of Bed-Stuy, everybody I knew came through the block. They always went to her window. She gave out candy out the window. I'm talking giving candy out the window. Like, just everybody coming, knocking on her window. Coming in, and she was just a lady, you know, everybody loved her. And she always looked out for me, you know, even when I was a knucklehead. I used to come doing wrong. I'm doing crazy stuff. I'm smoking or whatever. And I'm like, damn, I got the munchies. I used to always go, and she will always give me money. And then one time she asked me, "You ain't smoking no dope, is you?" I'm like, dope. But you know, they call weed dope. But I got a fan. I'm like, dope? I ain't smoking no dope. I don't even smoke. But I was smoking mad weed. But she was talking about weed. But she said, "You ain't smoking no dope, is you?" And when she said that, yo, I started rolling, man. But yeah, I miss my aunt. Everybody called her auntie, even people that wasn't even related. They just called her auntie. Everybody come knock on the window, especially on Halloween. Oh man, everybody go in the auntie house and get some candy. But yeah, that's my favorite. But as far as Black history goes, I would say probably. I mean, it's so many. It's too many to name. The one that comes to mind really, right now though, is definitely Frances Cress Welsing. Dr. Wilson was just amazing, man. Like the square that she stood on. Woo! The square that she stood on, and just unwavering, and especially coming from being being a doctor, you know, like psychology, you know what I'm saying? Breaking it down in the face of everybody that's trying to tell her that she wrong. You even got people to this day on the goddamn Breakfast Club. Who was it? The CNN dude, look like us. That was trying to badmouth Dr. Welsing and all of that. But it just don't stand. You can't, nobody, like, she already put her work in, so it's nothing you could say. You know what I'm saying? To even like losing her house, you know, people trying to like threaten her. There's so many powerful things about her story, but just the way she held it down from a factual standpoint, not from a theory, not from a level of theory or like ideas and things like that, but from speaking of facts and Standing on Your Square. Dr. Welsing is definitely one of my favorites, as well as I like one of the first ones I learned about besides Harriet Tubman, of course, was Asada Shakur as well. That was big in the schools. We read her book and things of that nature. So that was what, as a kid, before I came into consciousness, that was one that I even knew from back then, before I even knew about Black consciousness and all of that. We knew about Asada Shakur, Malcolm X, Black Panthers, and stuff like that. So definitely hail up those two warrior queens. But there's way too many for us to name right now, so I'm gonna pass the mic with that.
That's what's up. Again, for me, it's my mother and my grandmothers and all of my aunts on both sides. They either that fly or that aunt or about that life. So, whether I was with on my mother's side, if I was with Aunt Ebby, or if I'm on my father's side and I'm with Aunt Nisi, both of them, two sides of the same coin, both of them about that life. So, or my Aunt Bertha, definitely about that life. But then you have other aunts that, were confidants for me. People who looked out for, who still look out for me. My grandmothers, total opposites. One again was about that life. I remember seeing her beat somebody down in the street. But anyway, and the other one, you could barely hear her speak above a whisper and would allow me to play hooky. She used to say, "You too smart for that school anyway." That's right, Nana. I am. I would go to sleep and she would wake me up at 3:00. Time to go hooky. She said, "You don't get in trouble." And took that with her till she transitioned. And I played hooky a lot because the school was stupid. It was. It was. I got kicked out for arguing with a teacher. It's just ridiculous. It was just stupid. But anyway, the women women who I consider friends. I don't take that term lightly. If I consider you a friend, then I consider you a friend. I see them as powerful women. They show me a lot. Whether they know it or not, they show me a lot. You see, tonight I'm rocking Team Swap. You see that? You see Team Swap right there? I'm wearing the pink and white fedora too. Y'all better stop playing with me. But we've come to the end of our program, family. But before we round out, 60-second clip from Real Black TV of Dr. Khalid Abdul Muhammad. Let's go.
By Black people gaining a thorough knowledge of self after our 500 to 6,000 year Holocaust, where we have lost over 600 million. And so I believe that education process must be a process of two steps: inspiration and information. So I seriously give information, but Black people are a people of rhythm and spirit. So I also give inspiration.
And that's how you need to teach our family. That's how you need to vibe out with our people. Family, we've come to the end of our program. We thank you all for coming in and rocking out with us. We definitely appreciate each and every one of you. We want you to stay in the best of health, the best of courage, the best of wisdom, the best active. Please be active. Please be active. And we'll see you Black again next week. Brother Tad?
Yeah, I just want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. It's good to see the family again. I miss y'all all very much. Sister Keisha, I love you to life. Sister Marcia, you my heart. Brother Ashe, even though you're hiding in the background, you know how we do. You know what I'm saying? Brothers for life.
Yes, sir.
People tuned in, was inspired by something they heard tonight, so your turn to go out and inspire others. Y'all stay up, stay blessed, stay true. Remember, no matter how things may seem right now, it's always better days ahead.
Yep. That's what's up. I went in the
Marcia,
okay.
Your final thoughts. Gotta unmute yourself, sis.
I think we're buffering a little bit, but okay. Final thoughts is may time flourish. This is our season. Let's get it. That's it.
There you
See y'all
go, brother
next time.
Ashe SJ, the fire god. Your
I
final
went in
thought.
the back because I turned my camera off because I went to grab this calendar that I have. Y'all know I'm huge on dates. I love dates. I love history as it comes. You know, reliving the history from the past on the very days that it happens. You know, that's very powerful to me. So I got this calendar. Don't mind me. It's from last year. I need to get a new one. But this is a 2022 calendar, African American historical calendar. I need the 2023 one. But the one that I keep open, which is actually December of last year, is none other than Phyllis Wheatley. And it's really cool because they give like a whole little animated story on her life and like some of the things that she did and how she, you know, the powerful things that she did basically. So it's really dope. And this actually is from a black funeral home, black owned funeral home. But yeah, they animation of Phyllis Wheatley. I'm trying to get it in the camera so you can see it.
Is that the Woodard Funeral Home?
Yeah, exactly.
Do I know my black businesses or what?
Yeah, for sure. And I just bumped into, if y'all ever in the Bushwick area on the borderline of Bed-Stuy, right on Bushwick Avenue. I don't know if y'all know Cornelia with a Salvation Army is, but there's a big, huge black-owned church, right? And the church had a fire. But what they did now, since they can't use the church for a fire, they turned the church into a thrift store. So it's a really dope thrift store. I'm telling you, I was like amazed. Like I'm talking about, they got furniture. They got all kind. They having a big sale on furniture right now. They got all kind of knickknacks. I was pulling out, and this is so dope that we talking about this, yo, because I said my Aunt Ella, and I was thinking about her earlier when I went in the thrift store, because they had all of the candy dishes. Y'all remember the old school candy dishes that the elders used to have? You go back in the day, you like, let me get your penny candy. It's in the old school, the crystal dishes and all of that. Like, man, like the teacups and all of that. And then they had y'all remember back in the days, all of the old heads used to have this one record player that had an 8-track built into it at the same. It was like you could put the 8-track and the record player, and it had the big radio dial. So you can listen to the radio, 8-track, or the record. It got those joints right now for sale, bro. I'm like, yo, I felt like I walked into my great aunt's living room, yo. But it's a black-owned joint. I don't really even think they got a name. They're not on Instagram, but you can't miss it. It's a big church on the corner of Cornelia and Bushwick Avenue, black owned, and but it's a big ass thrift store now. They got clothes, they got furniture, they got chairs, they got whatever you could think of. They even had the huge tube. You remember the tube televisions before we had flat screens? It was tube televisions. They got the big, huge ones that's like 5-6 feet tall, the huge ones from back in the day. I mean, I know you're not gonna need it, but it's just very cool that they had these old things. I'm like, yo, I felt like I was transported in time. So if you ever looking for a thrift store and a black owned one, because those are hard to come by. A black owned thrift store, Bushwick and Cornelia, it's inside the big church. You can't miss it. But with that being said, your brother Ashe SJ signing out. Please make sure you're honoring our sisters, our warrior women. Give them this month. Let them have it, family. It don't matter who created it or whatever. Listen, we're going to take any opportunity we can to honor and make them feel good. You know what I'm saying? Because this world definitely puts a lot of energy into making them feel bad and brainwashing them and making them feel unappreciated, especially by us, which is why they go and run to everybody else instead of the black man. So it's up to us to play our part and make it a little bit easier for them, at least for this month, family. So Brother Ashe signing out. Always remember, true courage is knowing how to suffer, and the battlefield is where you stand. Sister Keisha.
See y'all black again right here on the Brooklyn Bridge, where it goes down every Thursday. Tell someone to tell somebody to tell somebody. Follow the OG Wisdom Podcast on YouTube and all your streaming platforms. Follow Ashe the Fire God on YouTube and on Facebook. Solid African. Good night, family. We out.